This is Free Range with Von Miller, the podcast where I step outside the lines and I take you with me. Each week, we're talking everything, from the biggest stories around the league to the biggest stories off the field. This isn't your average sports podcast. This is game meets culture, locker room meets living room, and no topic is off limits. So if you're into good conversations that ruffle a few feathers, join me every Wednesday and follow Free Range with Von Miller everywhere you get your podcast.
Welcome to the Kendo and Aido Italia podcast in this English language version. Enjoy listening.
Okay, let's get into this. We're tackling something today that, well, it sounds like a total contradiction on the surface, but it might hold one of maybe the deepest truths about mastering anything, really. Think about someone at the absolute peak of their skill. Maybe a swordsman, sure, but could be a coder, a negotiator, anyone. You picture speed, right? Precision, perfect moves. But what if the very highest level isn't about that complex action or nailing the technique? What if it's actually about complete mental stillness?
That stillness, yeah, that's right at the heart of our deep dive today. We're exploring Ken Zen Ichi
And Zen Ichi.
The Sword and Zen are one. It's a philosophical idea that really turns our usual ideas about confidence upside down. It suggests true skill is, well, fundamentally spiritual.
Okay, and where are we getting this from? Our sources today are pretty special, right?
Absolutely. We're focusing on a key moment in 16th century Japan, captured in this legendary correspondence, a letter known as Taikai.
Taikai. And this was between
the Zen Master Takuan Soho and one of the most famous warriors of the time, the swordsmanship master Yagyu Munenori.
Wow. So a Zen master writing to a top swordsman. What was the goal? Teaching him sword fighting?
Not really about how to, swing the sword better. Takuan was arguing that real mastery in combat, or frankly anything, needs these two things to come together. Our mission here is to unpack that unity.
Right, showing that mastery isn't just technical skill, it's spiritual. And it hinges on the convergence of, was it Ri and Waza?
Exactly, Ri and Waza.
Let's pin those down. Waza is the technique, yeah. The outside stuff, the perfect swing, the quick draw, knowing the step.
That's it, the external skill. But Ri is the state of the spirit, your internal condition.
Okay.
And here's the kicker, the core insight from Takuan. You could have flawless Waza, you could practice nonstop for decades, memorize everything. But if your Ri, your spirit, is messy, anxious, cluttered, ego-driven, bridden, you simply won't reach true mastery. That internal state dictates everything.
That really sets things up. So, okay, let's start where Takuan starts. Looking at the average person trying to learn this stuff.
Yeah, he asks this really sharp question. Why do most sword practitioners, the Kenkoku, he calls them, why do they practice day in, day out for years, even decades, but still just don't get there? They don't achieve that higher level of mastery.
They're putting in the hours, they know the moves. What's missing? What's the block?
Takuan says it's a spiritual issue, a lack of the right disposition towards spiritual perfection.
Spiritual perfection.
Okay, they focus only on the physical side, what the texts call the corporeal. They treat it like it's just about the body, just physical instructions. They completely miss the inner dimension.
So they think getting physically better is the same as, like, spiritual growth.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And when you're only looking outward, you inevitably crash into the biggest internal barrier.
Which Takuan names as?
The proprio ego, the ego.
The ego, right. That's the chief enemy within.
Exactly. And it's not just, being a bit selfish. Takuan sees it as the ultimate filter of failure. It's like this constant internal noise machine.
Yeah.
Your own will, your biases, all those little impulses pulling you this way and that, it actively corrupts your spirit and messes up your actions, no matter how good your technique looks on the surface.
So the ego acts like static.
Yeah,
a constant feedback loop of wanting things, fearing things, judging everything.
Yes, and it obscures reality. It obscures the essence of the art itself.
And life itself, it sounds like.
It absolutely creates delusion. Think about it.
Yeah.
If a swordsman is obsessed with winning, or just surviving or looking good, he's not actually seeing his opponent clearly. He's seeing his own fears, his own desires projected onto the other person. That's why Takuan really hammers this point. The spirit that's complacent or selfish, it just falls into delusion fast.
So if your whole practice is just about pumping up your ego,
you've already lost the path. Doesn't matter how strong you are.
Okay, that completely flips the script on why you even practice in the first place. If the ego is the real opponent, then the goal shifts dramatically.
Totally. Takuan reaches this radical conclusion in his letter. He says, look, when you learn a martial art, the real target isn't so much striking the guy in front of you. It's striking your own ego. True mastery is victory over that internal saboteur.
Wow. So if you manage to conquer your internal stuff first, your anxiety, your need for control, your fear of messing up before you even face the external challenge,
Then the external outcome almost takes care of itself. It becomes, well, maybe inevitable is too strong, but much more likely.
whereas any win you get without dealing with the ego is just temporary or shallow.
Exactly. Temporary, maybe even meaningless in the long run. That's why Takuan insists you have to train the spirit just as hard, maybe even harder than the body or the technique.
Because the spirit doesn't just decide if you win or lose this one fight.
Right. It determines something deeper. The sources call it the global value the person embodies in daily action.
Global value. Okay, unpack that.
It means the quality of your spirit infuses everything you do. If your spirit is, say, petty or arrogant or fearful, then even your most brilliant technical work, your amazing code, your perfect surgery carries that same smallness in a larger sense.
So the quality of your consciousness directly impacts the quality of your results.
Absolutely. It transfers directly. That's the key insight for anyone listening, whatever field you're in.
This whole philosophy, Ken Zen Ichi, it must have a kind of ultimate state, right? What does it look like when someone actually achieves this perfect fusion of spirit and technique?
Takuan describes it beautifully. He talks about reaching a level, let me see if I can get this right, where there is no longer Ken the sword and no longer Zen.
Okay.
And yet in the cosmos, nothing else could be found but Ken and Zen.
Whoa.
It's like you stop doing the technique. You become the practice. It's not a separate thing anymore. It's just how reality is for you.
And being in reality means perceiving it correctly. The sources mention Shiki. Our ability to perceive forms, perceive reality.
Yes, Shiki. And our ability to perceive clearly, to see what's actually there, depends entirely on how perfected our spirit and awareness are.
So calm spirit, clear vision.
Yeah.
Agitated spirit.
Agitated by the ego wanting this, fearing that then what you see isn't the world, it's a distortion. It's your own internal mess projected outwards.
So to see the opponent clearly.
But you first have to perfect the instrument of seeing, which is your own mind, your own spirit.
Which brings us perfectly to this ultimate paradox Takuan throws out there, right at the start of the Taikai letter, apparently.
Yeah, it's incredibly provocative. He says something like, in the art of combat, it is not about winning or losing. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And then one must simply be able to win while remaining exactly in the same position without taking a step forward or a step backward.
Win without moving an inch. That sounds impossible. Or just incredibly arrogant. Like if you just stand there in a fight, aren't you asking to get hit?
Right. It sounds crazy physically.
Yeah.
But the paradox is the point. It's not just a physical instruction. It's spiritual.
Oh, no.
Takuan argues this idea of immovability isn't just the ultimate truth of combat. But get this. It's the secret of behavior in the face of any human issue.
Any human issue, so perfect mental presence.
Exactly. Your mind is so anchored, so clear, that nothing external can pull it off balance. It doesn't react automatically.
So the attack comes whether it's a sword or a difficult question or a crisis, and your spirit doesn't jump forward in aggression or flinch back in fear. It stays centered. Still.
Perfectly put. You're not locked into some pre-decided plan, and you're not jerked around by impulse. You're just there, fully present, ready to respond appropriately.
Okay, so how on earth do you achieve that kind of stillness, especially today with everything demanding our attention?
Takuan gives us the mechanism. He calls it sforamento.
Sforamento.
Which means?
Literally emptying.
Emptying. Right, that sounds like the hardest part. Emptying what?
Emptying the spirit of all those desires, plans, projections, and speculations that constantly capture it. It's about stopping that nonstop internal chatter, the mental noise. Planning tomorrow, regretting yesterday, seeking approval.
All of it. That's the noise that clouds our perception, our shiki. It prevents that stillness.
And this idea of emptying, this must connect deeply with Zen Buddhism, right?
Absolutely. This sforamento, this spiritual emptying, is the direct path to the Buddhist concept of ku.
Ku. Emptiness.
Or muga, which means the alienation or letting go of the ego, the self. Takuan is clear. Achieving this state is the prerequisite for seeing reality without distortion.
And you need that clear vision, not just for fighting.
But for solving any problem, everyday stuff too.
Because the connection is If you walk into a meeting or an argument or face a complex decision and your mind is already jammed full of your own stuff.
Your assumptions, your desired outcomes, how you feel you've been wronged.
Right. Then you're not seeing the actual situation. You're seeing your own internal movie projected onto it.
Exactly. You'll miss the real solution, the real opportunity, the other person's actual point.
So the only way to act effectively, with clarity, is to first win that internal battle. Achieve that coup, that emptiness of self-created baggage.
That's the core of it. Internal victory precedes effective external action.
This letter, this philosophy, it clearly wasn't just theory. It had a huge impact historically, didn't it? Beyond just swordsmanship.
Oh, enormous. Takuan's way of explaining things spiritually was a key factor in transforming the martial arts themselves.
So?
It helped shift them from Bujutsu, which was purely about combat, about killing or survival techniques, into Budo, which translates more like the way of life or a spiritual path. Masters started seeing the real value wasn't just becoming a better fighter, but achieving spiritual refinement through the discipline.
So they started consciously weaving Zen principles into the training itself.
Precisely. That transformation from just technique Bujutsu to a spiritual path, Budo, really proves Takuan's point.
And that's a takeaway for you listening now. That history shows the quality of your spirit, your Ri, determines the real value, the global value of everything you do.
Right. Doesn't matter if you're managing a crisis, writing a book, raising kids, or just navigating a tough conversation.
If you bring a spirit that's complacent or anxious or driven by ego,
your technical skill, your Waza, your effort, it's always going to be undercut somehow. Real mastery starts with that internal quiet.
Okay, so let's leave everyone with a final thought to chew on, based on this idea of Kuin emptying the mind of those self-made images. If Takuan is right, if your victory over any challenge, big or small, really depends on first defeating the impulses of your own ego, then think about whatever you're facing right now.
What immediate thought or judgment or maybe deeply held prejudice?
Yeah.
What is it that you need to empty right now?
What do you need to let go of to get that unclouded view of reality and find the right way forward?
Something to think about.
Definitely. Think on that. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive.
Thank you for listening to this podcast.
Kendo Iaido Italia, il podcast.